It was on September 28 in 2021 when we received the heartbreaking news of Dr. Augustin de la Peña's passing. After a long illness, he never disclosed to any of us. Augustine was not only a dear friend and a colleague, but also the treasure and one of the driving forces behind the International Society of Boredom Studies. So his vision of founding a global institution devoted to the study of boredom was nothing short of passionate. During the second half of 2020 and early 2021, we worked closely, he from McAllen in Texas and I from Madrid, to turn this dream into reality. While Augustine initially envisioned a physical center in the US that was is inspired by the initiatives, for example, by the Boredom Lab of John Eastwood and, of course, by Dunker's lab in Canada, we founded the International Society of Boredom Studies as a virtual network. This move allowed us to build an international platform that fosters interdisciplinary research on boredom, from psychology and psychiatry to sociology, architecture, and philosophy. So the International Society of Boredom Studies was officially registered in Spain in 2020 and has since then has grown into a vibrant scholarly community. You are all are invited to join if you are not part yet. We have continued organizing this conference, and in 2022, we launched the Journal of Boredom Studies. Okay, focus on the book. In late 2020, Augustin approached me about a manuscript he had been working on for decades. This was a comprehensive study on boredom and its impact on everyday behaviors. His approach was unique, scientifically rigorous, yet deeply humanistic, drawing from diverse philosophical traditions. There was a certain urgency in his messages, which we initially took as excitement about the project, but he was worried about finding a publisher for such a long manuscript. It was over 1,000 pages. But after all, my editor at Springer, Lilith Dorco, immediately recognized its value. Sadly, Augustine passed away before he could finish the final version. And with the permission from his brother, Daniel, and the support of Springer, I proposed to complete the project alongside Christian Parreno, now treasurer of the Boredom Society. And we edited and proofread the work with care, preserving its full integrity, and the result was this book, which is titled Boredom Experience and Associate Behaviors, a lifelong research by Dr. Augustin de la Peña. And Christian is going to share something about the chapters and the parts that compose this book.
Great. Yes, thank you, Josefa. Hello, everyone. So as Josefa noted, this book is the culmination of a lifelong investigation into boredom and its entanglements with everyday behavior, cognition, and culture. Despite this ambitious, almost encyclopedic aim, it is clear and direct in both its argument and organization. It is arranged in 11 chapters. The first, the introduction and overview, challenges the cultural neglect of boredom. Augustine argues that Western metaphysics, dominated by naive realism and faith in the redemptive power of knowledge, has obscured boredom's importance. Boredom, he writes, is not a trivial malaise, but a central, generative force in human experience. It signals ruptures in meaning and pushes individuals towards novelty, creativity, or, in darker cases, risk and disorder. Chapter 2 turns to Western literature and philosophy, offering a historical and etymological archaeology of boredom. The chapter traces the conceptual evolution of boredom across canonical texts and periods, revealing how the term has been persistently overlooked or treated with suspicion, often marked as a taboo. In chapter 3, Augustine critiques psychology and psychiatry for their conceptual vagueness and reliance on narrow clinical perspectives. He distinguishes boredom from adjacent affective states and draws on experimental psychoanalytic and developmental approaches to explore its phenomenology. Crucially, the author demonstrates how boredom interrelates with psychopathologies, substance abuse, but also creativity. Chapter 4 explores sociology and economics. Boredom is shown to be deeply entwined with social structures, capitalism, and institutional life in schools, workplaces, the home, and the military. Particularly striking is Augustine's reading of boredom as both symptom and consequence of a hyper-individualistic, consumer-oriented society. Chapter 5 introduces anthropology and biology. It explores how boredom and interest vary across cultures and are shaped by evolutionary, neurological, and behavioral patterns. Of special note are discussions of games, plays, and exploratory conducts as biological responses to boredom. Chapters 6 and 7 contrast two paradigms of reality: the Western common sense paradigm and the development psychophysiological approach. The former, he argues, is anchored in dualistic assumptions and static conceptions of the self. The latter, on the other hand, proposes a dynamic, embodied understanding that accounts for the mind's adaptive and exploratory nature, essential for grasping boredom's complexity. Chapters 8 and 9 address boredom's role in shaping modernity. Entertainment, media, celebrity culture, war, politics, and even religion are reinterpreted through the lens of boredom. Boredom, for Augustine, is not merely the absence of stimulation, but a driving force in the search for intensity, novelty, and self definition. The final chapters, 10 and 11, speculate on future implications. Here, Augustine offers both utopian and dystopian scenarios. He anticipates increases in psychological, cognitive, and somatic disorders if boredom is left unaddressed. Conversely, he calls for educational, psychological, and medical paradigms that acknowledge boredom's role in human development and health. As Jose Miguel Alves says in his review of the book, which was published last year in the Journal of Boredom Studies, this book is not just an academic volume. It is also a compilation of individual views on society and culture, suggesting, with subtlety, recommendations and solutions. It is thus partly research and partly autobiography. Agustin de la Peña worked on this manuscript for decades. As editors, we preserve the integrity of his voice, its idiosyncrasies, its repetitions, even its rhetorical excesses, because they reflect the urgency and sincerity of a thinker who saw boredom not as a marginal effect, but as a crucial key in our Western civilization. His references range from ancient philosophy to postmodern pop culture, revealing a mind unwilling to settle within disciplinary bounds. Josefa and I hope that this book contributes to the consolidation of boredom studies as a rigorous, necessary, and interdisciplinary field. Thank you.
Thank you both for a really nice presentation of the book. I actually recall that we had a conversation years ago about this, so it's fantastic to see that to fruition now. We are 2 minutes away from the official end of this part of the conference.
We tried to share this path to publishing this book in a very formal and respectful way, but truth be said, it was crazy. It was a lot of work, and we cannot figure out at the very beginning when we accept this project how difficult would be to edit a book like this one, not because of the content, but because, Augustin was a friend. So you want to keep everything as he planned for the structure, for the argument of the book. And all the time you are asking yourself, am I doing a good job? Am I misunderstanding something? So wow, crazy, just crazy. I don't know if I'm sure that Christian is thinking the same right now. Maybe you have forgotten this these 2 years working hard on the book, because wow.
Yes, I do remember. It was very intense.
Yeah.
But also, I think that part of that intensity derived from the fact that the book is very nuanced. So you have parts in which it's very clear and direct, like every almost like a newspaper read. But in some other chapters, he really goes deep into his knowledge as a psychologist, and slowly, language changes. The way that he approached that language was also very particular. There is a lot of hyphens. There are a lot of abbreviations. There are a lot of different ways to progress the argument and move to a slightly deeper, let's say, a way of thinking. So one of the main values, I think, of the book is precisely that, is that it offers these different layers of potential understanding and interpretation, which of course it is very coherent with the idea of boredom as something equally simple and at the same time equally complex.
Yeah, in my case, was something more personal, I think, because I feel that, like, if we were Christian to offer a present to his family in some way, because in fact the book was not going to be published because it was in a very, as you said, in a very nuanced state when we took it. For me, it was like, okay, this is the Augustin life project. He was working on this for his entire life, so he deserves to have this book published for the Boredom Scholars community, which was something very important for him. And yeah, the pressure on my case was all the time on the doubt about if I was doing a good job or not. But thanks to your help and to your company during all the path, well, you can see the book is here in this world.
Indeed. Thank you, Josefa, because it was a very it was very cooperative work. This is something that also would not have been done by just one person because of,
No,
on the one hand, the length, on the other hand, the complexity of the content. So
absolutely.
yes, it was a fantastic experience. Thank you.
So we both hope you enjoy reading it.